I really am gonna ask Mama about that wallpaper because if she's keeping the wallpaper, then shit, I could glue the wallpaper back to the wall. That ain't that hard to do. But if she's taking the wallpaper down, then it's just making more work for her to glue it to the wall. And I kind of know my mama. And when she moves into a place, she normally has a whole new theme in mind. She's an artist, and she normally redoes everything. When we moved to San Antonio, Texas, she drew this tree. She didn't have a stencil for a tree, but she had a stencil for a vine and some other things. And she pieced it together. And at the headboard of the bed, she made this very beautiful tree. And a lot of the things she did was very beautiful in a lot of the houses. But anyway, it went all up at the top of the bed, and I don't really remember all that was in it. There might have been animals, there might have been, other plants and all, but it was mostly like this tree. And when you're on base, you've got to when you move out of a house, you got to clean it up, and all the walls have to be white and all that. And the inspector woman, when she saw it, she was like, "Whoa, that's beautiful." And the people moving in, they might want to keep it. And she was like, "Don't just cover it up yet." And so they told the new people about, hey, if you don't like it, we're going to paint it white, or if you want to keep it. And they wanted to keep it. And I wonder how many times that happened. I wonder if it's been whitewashed now, or if it's still there. But she did a really good job. And it was a very tedious process because it's like every single leaf and every single twig and every single thing, she's painting it. And then when we moved to Dawsonville, she had this like cow theme throughout everything. And so that's the thing that, because I kind of argued in the other video a little bit, but that's something that I know about my mama that y'all don't know. I know that art side of her. So I'm gonna ask her first, and if she's like she's gonna keep it, which I doubt, she might, because she's sentimental. She might. And then if she keeps it, I'll glue it back up there. But if she's gonna change it, which she probably is, then I'm just making more work for her to glue it to the wall. And when I come home from work, I notice Brittany. I notice the dogs that greet me. I notice Brittany that greets me. And I'm a man. I can't even see, like, let's say that I don't have no ketchup or something. I go look in the refrigerator and I can't even see the ketchup I'm looking for. It ain't even in there. And then Brittany will look and she'll say it's right there, and I'll look in that spot and it'll be there. So, like, if something moves, like if I'm like when I go walking, every single animal, the deer bedded down in the grass, the squirrel up on the pole, I'm always like, I see that, I see that, I see that. Anything that moves, I notice that, I notice that. But there's things that you just stop noticing, like this. I used to really notice this when I first got it. I would look at this piece of art, and then after a while, you just see it, and it almost becomes invisible. You just don't even know it's there. What's your favorite? What's your favorite YouTube? Is a dog good boy? A dog good boy. Hey, hello. Are you telling me who your favorite YouTuber is and asking me who my favorite YouTuber is? Personally, well, not like, okay. If you're There's like business and personal kind of. So like YouTubers, I don't really know, like History Civilis, the man who makes those channels. I don't really know him. I don't interact with him in the comments or anything like that. And I like YouTube for history videos, and I really like History Civilis as far as like content wise. But as far as like YouTubers, like the actual person and knowing the people, I don't really know any of them except like ones that I've interacted with on my channel. And I think that Ravenheart's pretty cool, and I think that Troy Ortez is pretty cool. So it's like when you're asking me like who my favorite YouTuber is, if you're talking about like content wise, that would be probably Historia Civilis. I love those little square cartoon animations. If it's music wise, I gotta support my homeboy YG Guala. There's some mainstream music people that I like their music, but I mean they got enough people shouting them out. See little bits up there on my shoulders. You remember smoking crack with me? I don't know about that because I didn't much share a lot of crack back in the day. I did, but when I did, no one threw in. They just want to share some of mine, and then it's like, whoa, it's gone too fast. Benjamin Alexander. You claim that you remember smoking crack with me. Well, I haven't smoked crack in a long time. And I don't know, it might be somebody just wanting to be like, this is there might be somebody, damn, they reconnected. I don't know if that's true. Not if your real name is Benjamin Alexander. Maybe Benjamin Alexander. I don't think so. I never really was addicted to crack, believe it or not. But I'm a different sort of person. So I did not mean to smoke crack. I had a cousin who melted crack over weed ashes in a weed pipe and give it to me. And so I accidentally smoked crack. And I always said if anybody ever laced my weed with crack or something like that, I'd beat their ass. But that's not what happened. It's not like how I planned. I was high on it, and I was feeling pretty good, and I wasn't feeling too mad about it. And then I knew I liked it too much. You know, I had already been a recovered alcoholic. I'd already quit alcohol. And so I didn't want to be enslaved to something like crack. Plus, it's expensive. Oh, boy, it's expensive. You'd be like $50, be like, gone. Well, not exactly that fast. And then you're pushing it back and forth in the tube and shit. But, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. I grew up poor. Very poor. Very, very poor. You know, I'm the oldest of 7 siblings. And so I could not have my money evaporate like that. I cannot have my money just go like that. And I had some people that I could trust, which this is a very rare type of person, that because it's got to be somebody that's okay with crack, that's also trustworthy with crack. It's a very rare kind of person. I'm not going to say what their 2 names were, but I had 2 people that I could do that with in my life. I would go buy $100 worth of crack, and they would hold on to it for me, and they would ration it off to me. And I had a rule that I had to have a month to 2 months in between usage. And I would just, whatever I was going to, I didn't go do more. I would just go through the 3 days of withdrawal. I do not recommend this. Most people don't seem to be able to do this. Do not even try this. And I would just go through 3 days of withdrawal. And I don't know why I did this madness. Sometimes, like let's say a breakup happened, I'd get kind of self-destructive and I'd go do some crack. I don't know what the fuck. It's a bad idea. I don't know, you know. And there were some periods where I might have done a little extra. But I remember I kept a tally of the number. And it was at something like $450. And then I think I might have pushed it to $500, $550, something like that before I permanently quit. I permanently quit. I'm not interested in doing any more of it. I do remember smoking some that was yellow, but I do not know. I do not know. Benjamin Alexander is probably not Benjamin Alexander, and it may be someone just making up things that are not true and just guessing, a good guesser. But I do not recommend it at all. It's one of those things like the lottery. You know, people who play the lottery, I don't. If you're playing the lottery, you might as well play the stock market. Just, you know, but people who play the lottery, they remember the wins, but they don't really remember the losses. And they all swear that they're breaking even or making more money, and they're all losing money. I'm going to say it again. The people who play the lottery, they tend to remember their wins and not their losses. They all tend to feel that they're breaking even or making money, and they're all losing money. So that's kind of how crack is. You remember the high, you forget how shitty you feel afterwards, and that's kind of, I don't know, it's something it's a problem. And I don't know, nobody in the world can afford it, I don't think. The only thing, I'll pretty much quit everything for the most part. And I do plan to quit everything. The other things I say, it's a lot easier to know that you need to quit them. It's a lot easier to admit you have a problem. Like, as someone who's addicted to crack or addicted to alcohol, it's easy for them to say, "Yep, I got a problem of something that I should quit." But it's the lesser ones that take years and years and years to do as much damage and to be as addictive, and it's just harder to tell yourself, like, shit, maybe I shouldn't be this much on caffeine or cannabis or, the lighter ones. How have I been doing? I've been doing good. I'd say I've been doing good. I wish that I have certain things I wish that was moving along a little faster than what they are. There's like a lot. There's always setbacks. There's progress, but it's like, I want it to be a step forward and a step forward and a step forward and a step forward, but it tends to be, a step forward, a step forward, a step forward, a step back, a step back, a step forward, a step forward, a step back, a step forward, because you just can't really plan for life, or I can't. It's probably a skill, and well, no one knows all the variables, so no one's going to be able to predict the future. But you can kind of see patterns. Some people probably can predict and anticipate more than others. Like, some people probably have more foresight than others. But I don't have as much foresight as I wish that I had. There's always it's like I'm planning in my head, okay, so I'll have 70 chickens by then. Oh, I did not know that the screen had come up from the door. Now there's a fox in the pen and stuff like that. Benjamin Alexander. I almost even wonder if it's just like a cop trying to get me to incriminate myself in the comment section. I don't know. I don't give a well, I do, but I don't. What I'm more, I started thinking about it last night when someone had threatened to put a video on the news or something like that. I started really thinking, and I do not want fame, because I've been asking myself, why do I do this channel? Because I don't want the money. I have the ad revenue turned off. I hate commercials more than I want to make some money off of YouTube. And so I was thinking, maybe I want the attention. But then I started thinking about it. I really don't. I want privacy. I don't want that. And I think maybe I just want to talk. I just want to have it's almost like a journal or something. I don't know. I don't know. It's like, maybe I want to be heard, but I don't want to be when I imagine if somebody, if everyone knows who you are, then you can't ever be a background character for other people. You can't just walk into a store and just go get something. Somebody's liable to stop and want to be like, "Yo, I know you." So, and you kind of want a barrier between people being able to approach you or not able to approach you. The internet's changing the world a lot, and in some ways it's very positive. One way that I say it's very positive is legacy media. Legacy media has always lied and sort of pushed a narrative and an agenda. And so one of the positives is that now people are linked up with the internet and are able to really get the truth out there. You're able to have a lot of people with eyes on the ground being journalists, recording things and uploading them and sharing them where it's easier to expose lies. And that's a positive thing. But then one of the negative things is that the privacy is going to eventually go away. It will not exist. Eventually, there's going to be like, like how a dolphin can like see your bones and everything through, I don't know what it is, some kind of sonar, some kind of something or whatever. Well, 5G can kind of do that. And so eventually it's going to be where everything can pretty much be tracked, like any object, any person. And then they're making these programs to predict people's personalities, to predict their behavior in the future. And so it's like probably inevitable that people are not going to give up their toys and we're going to just completely lose privacy. And also people are going to become they're becoming so dependent. A part of them is atrophying. Like people are almost like losing their ability to remember things, and they're losing their sense of direction because we have all these tools to do those things for us. So not very long ago, but it's longer than probably half of my audience's lifetime. There was no cell phones, and you would leave and drive somewhere, and there was no cell phones. There were places where you could go to pay phones, and the thing that come out that was kind of like a cell phone is there was these beepers. Mostly people had them for work, and you could get a message of a phone number of who's trying to call you, and then you could go to a payphone and call them. But people had maps and stuff, and the tools we have are so advanced that it's letting our brain atrophy in a lot of ways. Luckily, there's a lot of neuroplasticity. Our brains can change, we can adapt. So I suppose if we lost it, we would just like it so quickly changed us now, we would probably be able to so quickly change back. So maybe I'm a little too alarmist about it. And then, in all of the developed countries, we talk about the IQ averages being higher, but our IQs are falling over the years. We're atrophying. And so who knows, like maybe in 100 years from now, less or more, the Congo will have a higher IQ and the West will have a lower IQ. There's things that affect that, like childhood nutrition and genetics as well. But, the conditions in the Congo are quite different than here. The conditions in the Congo are not for atrophy. You got to get smarter. You got to get stronger. It's hard to survive there. So it kind of pushes them to ascend. And then here we don't have those same forces pushing us to ascend. We have a lot of things that will make us atrophy. And I think that's what's happening a lot. There's not even really safety and peace and safety because then you atrophy. Our stuff was, okay, yeah. I did a lot of things in my life that I never thought that I would do and didn't really plan on doing. Some of it is due to certain pride that I had where I thought that I could resist social pressure more than I could. Some things kind of wear on you. I would say in certain ways, my religion and my politics did not really align 100% with my human biology. The advice I was given by the people older than me did not really fit into the new changing world. And nobody could really raise you for the modern world because no one could foresee what satellite TV and internet was about to do to society. And also there was a blindness of how everybody else was raising their kids. And Also, a lot of people were not raising their kids. Jewish owned media was raising their kids. And Sir John Glubb has an essay, The Fate of Empires. It may be called The Fate of Nations. I think it's called The Fate of Empires. And he pointed out that pretty much every civilization followed the same pattern. And he also pointed out that it really didn't matter if you could move as fast as a car or move as fast as a horse, because the length of a lifetime pretty much give the same limits. And so each empire had so many generations, and each generation is growing up in a different conditions than the generation before. So if you think, Genghis Khan, however you say his name, Kublai Khan, whatever his name was, that great conqueror from Mongolia, he at times in his life was a slave. He at times of his life had no safety. His raiding tribe just come and snatched his wife up and enslaved her and impregnated her. He couldn't do nothing about it. He at times was starving, eating rats and onions. He, over fighting over food, killed his brother like this. So, but at the end of his conquest, when you go back into Mongolia, all the trade and everything pouring into Mongolia, and the new law that they'd done away with their caste system, and they'd done away with slavery of Mongolians. Other people can be enslaved, but Mongolians couldn't be enslaved, and completely done away with the caste system, and instead had a total meritocracy. And you go in there, and there's steel knives. There's meat of all kinds of different meat. There's all kind of gold and jewels. Like when the conquerors returned to Mongolia, like they didn't recognize it. They left like a barren desert and come back to a palace. And so those next Mongolians that live there are not going to be the same as the ones that were there before. And then you don't have time to really build some kind of library or sit down and have all these philosophical conversations when you live in a state of starvation and wife stealing just going on rampant. Like a neighboring tribe might just come in, and you're trying to forget family planning. I mean, you're just living day to day, So there's, you might have the Persian. When you look at the Persian Empire, the first Persian kings were very militaristic. They were very healthy. They were very combat ready. They served in combat. It takes a long time before they get to the point to where they're spoiled brats of the palace, and they're softer because they've grown up in luxury. Persia resisted it longer than a lot of other civilizations because they kept their kings. They had a tradition of keeping their kings, not just living that life of ease. It's only way later before it starts to become a problem. But that's normally going to happen. Philip the One Eye of Macedon, he become the hegemon of all of Greece, and he built his army. He had a throne that you pretty much always got assassinated on. He was a really great man, and he was really fighting to survive and fighting to put Macedonia in a position of strength so it just wouldn't be at the mercy of the Greeks and the Persians all of the time. Alexander just wanted to have bragging rights and didn't care if the world burnt so he could. I mean, maybe he had some kind of noble vision of the future or whatever, but I really doubt it. I think a lot of Alexander the Great's motivation was for his own personal glory. And I don't really think that was so much true about his father. You look at Macedon's early history, and they're just this weak power, just being totally at the mercy of the Persians or the Greeks, and they have to be very wise politically to be able to play both of these powers off of each other while they grow into a position to where they're not just, and it's not just the Persians and the Greeks, it's the barbarians north of them are always sacking them too. So, and then you see, when he dies, all of his generals, they have no unity among them. They don't have any grand vision for anything. Each and every one of them is just fighting for whatever piece they can get of the empire. And then they fight each other constantly till they're almost all dead, and Rome can just come in and gobble up all their little fiefdoms. Benjamin Alexander. Benjamin Alexander. I do not know a Benjamin Alexander. Benjamin Alexander. Let me look at this channel. I don't think. I might stay live a little bit longer. I don't know. These take forever to process. And I do got to go to work in the morning. I might just go ahead and cut this short.